today's video, I'm going to show you how to put together a set of hand tools that could save your life when times get tough. So I think most people who know would agree that the place to start would be with a proper socket set. You could maybe make the argument that end wrenches, we'll do the next video on end wrenches, but just for today we'll start with the ratchets and a proper socket set. Now before we get into the specific tools and what I recommend and where you start is I want to go over the 4 different sizes that are common in the States anyway. This right here, the smallest, is called 1/4 inch drive. So when you hear that, it's the measure of the little mandrel that comes out the end where you connect the socket to. You can see how small that is. Next and most common is the 3/8 drive. After that is the 1/2 inch drive, and then ultimately the big one is the 1 inch drive. Where you should start is with the 3/4 inch drive. If you want to expand from there or have larger equipment to work on, I'd recommend we'll go into the 1/2 inch drive, then the 1/4, and then very few people are going to need this larger one unless you're working on heavy equipment. So we'll get rid of these and go into the basic socket set, what you need and what sizes. So unfortunately, American manufacturers can't decide on what size bolts they want to use and everything. Traditionally, everything was laid out on the inch standard, 1/4 inch, 5/16, so on and so forth. Most of the newer stuff you're going to find is going to be metric. But what I find with as I work on new cars a lot, is a mix of both. So you may have the body all metric and the running gear, transmission will be standard. So unfortunately, you need to have a good set of both. What you want, where I would start with is my first set is I would buy a full set of standard, and I would start with a 1/4 inch, which is a smaller size here, and you need to go up to about 1 inch. That pretty much will cover most of the jobs you need. We start getting into things that are larger than that. I'll show you some tricks in the future, some tools you can buy, but it's just so rare that I wouldn't make the investment. Now you can see here that there are deep sockets and shallow sockets. You know, why do you need one of each? A shallow socket is stronger than a deep, but a deep you need, and I'll show you why. Oftentimes you're going to have bolts with the nuts that come down, you're going to have a lot of thread sticking out. The problem you run into with shallow sockets is that you're unable to reach that. So the only reason for the deep socket is that you can slip that over and it will take that up, and you can have more, you can use it on a wider array of bolts. After you get your sockets, your standard and your American set, you're going to want to get a ratchet. Now, there's so many different quality levels. You know, what is good enough for the average guy? Do you need to go out and buy Snap-on? Or can I get away with Harbor Freight or Sears? And here's what I would tell you with that. For me, where I use my tools for a living, I use them every day. I use Snap-on tools. I need to have, they may just make all the difference. In that one time where you have something that's really hard to get to, or a lesser tool would strip it out and cost you time and money, it just doesn't pay, and they're just nicer to use, and they are the very best. However, exceedingly expensive and not necessary for most guys. The Harbor Freight tools are really appealing because they are so cheap. You can go in there for probably less than $100 and get everything that you're going to need for this video, and they seem to hold up pretty good. I use them as extra or backup tools to keep in my rig that I'm only going to use on occasion. I have several friends that use them, and they're not bad. I haven't seen them to be. They seem to be equivalent to Craftsman or pretty close. My concern is, a lot of guys can make the argument for them is that, well, they have a lifetime guarantee, and that's great. Most of the tool manufacturers do, but we are putting together. The reason why we're prepping is not because why would we prep or prepare for the future if we could just go down and buy what we needed? So I'm always doing this from the standpoint of, I need to have things that are going to last me. I might not be able to get them. I might not be able to go down to Harbor Freight and replace my 9/16 socket that just broke. So what I would recommend you do is go with a quality ratchet. That's probably the most fragile portion of your socket set. Do you need Snap-on? Probably not. But I would look into maybe Mac or Proto, S&K, some of the nicer American-made tools. You can buy them on eBay at hawk shops, but just do a little researching and spend your money and get yourself a quality ratchet. And also, I would, as soon as I could, upgrade my heavy use sockets to quality ones. I might even consider buying a few snap-on tools, 9/16, half-inch, maybe 7/16, 3/8, the sockets that you're going to use a lot, 10 millimeter and 13 millimeter. Those 6 sockets I would upgrade as soon as I could. Those are the ones you're going to use on the majority of all tools working on your car, and they're going to wear the most. So just a thought. Once you get your shallow and your deep sockets in metric and standard, you're going to want what we call some extensions. And I've got 3 of them here, and these are the basic sizes you're going to want. Starting with the short one. This just gives you a little bit of extra reach on hard to get areas. And where I would start with is probably about a 6 to 8 inch extension. After that, I would get myself a short extension, about a 3-incher, and then a 12-incher. But these 3 extensions with your ratchet will give you a tremendous amount of flexibility. After that, I would purchase a good quality universal joint. What a universal joint does for you is it gives you just a bit of angle. So when you have a bolt that's in a real hard to get area that's difficult to get on, you can use this to get the angle that you need and rotate it off at this angle. And I would not skimp on this. I would get quality, and I would buy a socket that's made for an impact wrench. Impact tools or sockets are typically black, and they're much more durable. Something like this, using it on a hand tool is going to last you forever and never break. The next thing that I would seriously consider is a good, what some people would call a flex handle or a breaker bar. You can see the length on this, and what it's intended for is when you get a bolt that's extremely tight. This one here is the next size up. The tool kit that I'm recommending you start with is a 3/8 drive. You can see here this is the 1/2-inch drive. So you might say, well, that's not going to fit my sockets. What you're going to do is you're going to buy a 1/2-inch drive flex handle, and you're going to use an adapter. An adapter simply steps down the size so you can use your smaller sockets. You're going to eventually want to get a 1/2-inch drive set of tools anyway, so I would start with a 1/2-inch drive because it's just so much more robust and stronger. But with this adapter, you can use your smaller sockets. It's not ideal, and be careful because you're going to be putting a lot of force on these tools, but it just comes with using it responsibly. When you start jumping up into multiple head sizes, let's say you have 2 sets of sockets, you've got a 3/8 drive, and then you've got the larger 1/2-inch size, make sure you have the adapters to go both ways. So what I'm saying is you can have this adapter, and you can use your smaller sockets on your larger ratchet head, or the other way around. I can use my smaller ratchet on my larger sockets that way, and that gives me crossover. So if one of my ratchets goes down or it breaks on me, then at least I'm not completely stuck with this useless set of sockets. I can use the other one as a backup. So make sure, whatever sizes you go. I have for all my tools, I can go every direction. So my 1/4-inch drive, I can jump up to the 3/8 and use my larger sockets, or even the other way, I can, with my 3/8 drive, use this adapter and step down to my small 1/4-inch sockets. It just gives you so much more flexibility. So providing you have a garage or a shop to work in, I don't care what anyone says, the very best way to organize and to utilize your tools best is in a small tool cart like this. As you can see, I've got mine laid out. Mine is specified for a certain type of vehicle that I work on all the time, but you can see that I've got my shallow, deep socket, 3/4 metric drive, specialty wrenches, hand tools, pliers, extensions, ratchets, specialty sockets, and then hand tools, hand wrenches in the bottom. What's nice about this is you can bring this little cart to your work. It's not too big. So rather than walking back and forth to a pegboard or to a big immovable or difficult to move toolbox, this is just ideal. And if you grab the wrong size wrench, it's just a arm's reach away, and then you have what you need. Over here on the side, I've made a little thing to hold my screwdrivers, and we'll cover all these other tools in detail more often, or in future videos. So, the large toolboxes are fine. However, once they get loaded up with tools, they're pretty heavy and hard to move around, and I don't like working out of them. The only reason to have a big toolbox is if you work in a shop with other people and you have to worry about theft, so you can keep the tools locked up. That's essentially the reason for it. So if you're just working in your own shop or garage, it's just not necessary. So this is the absolute best way to go and the most efficient. If you don't have a shop or garage, but you do want to put together a set of tools and you'll be working outside or at other people's places, just start with a small toolbox like you see right here. You can get these from Harbor Freight. They'll have a little grip handle in the top and you can start organizing your tools. Where you want to start with, remember, is with the sockets. Put together the socket set like I showed you. Start either with Harbor Freight or with Sears. Make sure you go to the Harbor Freight website and get on their mailing list, and they'll send you coupons once a month where you can get 20% off. That will be the time to go in and to buy those sockets. But